You probably have people you call friends, people you follow, people you text, people who send you memes at 2 in the morning, people who know what music you like, what shows you watch, maybe even who you're dating. But here's an uncomfortable question. How many of them are actually your friends? Not people you know, not people you occasionally hang out with, not people who react to your stories. Real friends. Because there's a strange kind of loneliness that happens when you're surrounded by people, but you still feel like nobody truly knows you. And the scary part is that you can have dozens of contacts, hundreds of followers, multiple group chats, and still have no one you would call when your life falls apart. Modern life has made connection incredibly easy. But real friendship? That might be getting harder. Think about how most friendships work today. You send each other videos. You reply to stories. You talk about work, dating, money, something stupid someone posted online. You laugh. You make plans. Sometimes you actually meet. And on the surface, everything looks normal. But then something happens. You go through a breakup. You lose your job. You start feeling depressed. Your family situation gets messy. Or maybe nothing dramatic happens at all. Maybe you're just not doing well. And suddenly you realize something. And you have no idea who you can actually talk to. Because many friendships are built around entertainment, convenience, or shared environments. You were friends because you went to school together, because you worked together, because you went to the same parties, because you played the same game, because you lived 5 minutes away. And once that environment disappears, sometimes the friendship disappears with it. Not because anyone is evil, not because the friendship was necessarily fake, but because there was never much underneath the routine holding it together. And that can be painful to admit. We often measure friendship by frequency. How often do we talk? How often do we hang out? But frequency and closeness are not the same thing. You can talk to someone every single day and still never tell them anything real. You can know every detail about someone's schedule while knowing almost nothing about what they're afraid of. And sometimes a person you only speak to once every few months understands you better than someone you see every weekend. Real friendship requires something most people are surprisingly uncomfortable with. Vulnerability. At some point, someone has to stop performing. Someone has to say, I'm actually not doing that well. I'm scared. I feel lost. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And that's where things get interesting. Because some people can handle the entertaining version of you, but not the honest version. They like you when you're funny, when you're useful, when you're confident, when you're successful, when you bring energy into the room, but become quiet for a few weeks. Stop being entertaining. Need something instead of providing something. And suddenly the relationship feels different. That doesn't always mean the other person is fake. People have their own problems, their own responsibilities, their own emotional limits. But friendship becomes revealing when the relationship stops being convenient. Because convenience can imitate loyalty for a very long time. As long as everything is easy, everyone looks loyal. The real test usually comes when friendship costs something. Time, energy, patience, an uncomfortable conversation, maybe even forgiveness. And this is where a lot of relationships quietly collapse. There's another problem. Many of us are terrified of being the person who cares more. So we play these little games. I texted last time, so now they have to text me. They took 6 hours to answer, so I'll take 6 hours too. I'm not going to ask them to hang out because I don't want to look desperate. And slowly, two people who might genuinely care about each other start acting like they don't. Nobody wants to be vulnerable. Nobody wants to risk rejection, so everyone waits. And eventually the friendship dies from two people pretending they didn't need it. That's the weird thing about loneliness. Sometimes it isn't caused by having nobody around you. Sometimes it's caused by everyone being too afraid to admit that they need each other. Social media makes this even stranger. We have constant evidence that everyone else is connected. Birthday parties, trips, group photos, dinner tables full of people. Everyone seems to have a circle. Everyone seems invited somewhere. And if you're sitting alone at home looking at all of this, it's incredibly easy to think, what's wrong with me? But what you're seeing is visibility, not intimacy. A photo can show 10 people sitting at the same table. It cannot tell you whether any of them could have an honest conversation together. Being surrounded by people and being understood by people are two completely different experiences. And maybe that's why some people feel most lonely when they're in a group. They're physically included, but emotionally invisible. They're present. They're laughing. They're responding. But nobody in that room actually knows what's happening inside their head. Maybe you've felt that before. You're sitting with people you technically consider friends, and suddenly you think, if I disappeared for a month, would any of these people really notice? It's a brutal thought, but sometimes it tells you something important. Real friendship isn't about having someone constantly available. It isn't about talking every day. And it definitely isn't about agreeing on everything. A real friend can disagree with you, call you out, tell you when you're being stupid. But there's a difference between criticism and humiliation, between honesty and disrespect. A real friend doesn't need you to fail so they can feel successful. Your good news doesn't secretly annoy them. Your growth doesn't threaten them. And when your life becomes difficult, they don't immediately disappear because you're no longer fun to be around. But there's another side to this that people don't like talking about. If you want real friends, you also have to become one. It's easy to complain that nobody checks on you. But who do you check on? It's easy to say nobody listens. But when someone talks to you, are you actually listening? It's easy to want loyalty while constantly choosing convenience. Deep friendship is not something you simply find. It's something two people build. Slowly. Usually through hundreds of small moments that seem completely unimportant at the time. Remembering something they told you. Showing up. Calling when you said you would. Listening without immediately turning the conversation back to yourself. Being honest when honesty is uncomfortable. Apologizing when you're wrong. And staying long enough for someone to realize they don't have to perform around you. That takes time. And this might be the hardest part. Some friendships in your life probably need to end. Not with some dramatic confrontation. Not because the other person is terrible. Sometimes people simply become different. You grow in different directions. Your values change. Your priorities change. And forcing a dead friendship to stay alive because of history can sometimes make you feel more lonely than simply letting it go. You are allowed to appreciate what someone meant to you without pretending they still belong in your life in the same way. But don't turn that realization into cynicism. The conclusion isn't, nobody is real. That's too easy. The better question is, which relationships in my life become deeper when I stop performing? Who can sit with you in silence? Who can hear your good news without making it about themselves? Who can hear your bad news without disappearing? Who can tell you something you don't want to hear while still making you feel respected? And around whom do you feel like you can finally stop trying to be impressive? Those people are rare, which is exactly why they matter. You probably don't need 20 real friends. You might not even need 10. Sometimes one or two people who genuinely know you can make your life feel completely different. So maybe the goal isn't to become more popular. Maybe the goal is to become more honest, to stop collecting people and start building relationships, to send the message first, to have the uncomfortable conversation, to tell someone you appreciate them while they're still here, and maybe to admit that some people you call friends are really just familiar strangers. This is Screaming Thoughts, a place where we talk about psychology, human nature, loneliness, relationships, and the thoughts most people have but rarely say out loud. And if this video made you think of someone, maybe don't just send it to them. Call them. Because real friendship is built outside the screen.